Senator Rounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, welcome to the committee. I'd like to go back just a little bit. We had the opportunity to have Chairman Powell in front of us yesterday, and I'd like to just remind my colleagues of what Chairman Powell said yesterday about what we called groupthink. Chairman Powell agreed with me that groupthink is unhealthy, and he said, I'm strongly inclined to think that you need to hear all sides of a case. And to that end, Dr. Waller and Dr. Shelton, I think both of you would provide the board with fresh perspective, and I think that's healthy. I did want to have the opportunity to maybe delve into just a couple of separate items, and I'm going to begin with Dr. Waller. I think you've been neglected here a little bit, and I'd like to talk a little bit about you're from the St. Louis Fed, and can you talk a little bit about what the differences are between what you see in the upper Midwest with regard to the ag economy versus what we find in a lot of the rest of the economy, which has really been significant in terms of its growth, and yet the ag economy has been very slow, and perhaps in large part because they've been on the tip of the spear of the trade negotiations that have been going on. Can you share a little bit about what you've seen in your previous work?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. So as I mentioned in my opening statement, a large part of my job at the St. Louis Fed is to talk to the members of our community, bankers, business people. And we have a big ag section. In fact, our district is the largest soybean producer in the United States. So clearly the trade wars with China have had a huge impact on our ag sector, and we hear that all the time when we go out and talk. We're hoping that some of the deals that have been signed will reverse this, and there won't be a persistent decline in farm income. Also, hopefully, this will put some support under land prices, which have been drifting down for the last 5 years, which potentially could create some problems for rural and ag banks if that continues. We're keeping an eye on that, but we're hoping that some of the trade uncertainty with China will sort of alleviate this pressure.
Thank you. Dr. Shelton, they've made it very clear that they think that you come from a unique perspective with regard to your discussions in an academic sense with regard to the gold standard. They have suggested, or at least some of your critics have suggested, that you would not be independent. I've looked at some of your writings. It would appear to me that you have taken almost a devil's advocate approach in some cases. I think the chairman of the Fed, Chairman Powell, has made it clear that he looks for differing points of view. And yet at the same time, I think each time we ask you questions, we lead the question a little bit. I'd like to give you just a few minutes, and I've got 1 minute and 53 seconds left. But would you take some time here and just explain what your thought is with regard to the gold standard, and perhaps a little bit about what you see your role as a member of the board with regard to both being a team member but also being an independent member as well. In South Dakota, we value that independent point of view, and we think it's important. I'd like you to share your thoughts without being led into any question.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Senator Rounds. I keep going back to the fact that the power to regulate the value of U.S. money is granted by our Constitution to Congress. It's in Article 1, Section 8. And in the very same sentence, Congress is given the power to define official weights and measures for our country. Because money was meant to be a measure, to be a standard of value. And I think that money has to work the same for everyone in the economy. And it's important that it serve that purpose as a reliable measure so that people can plan their lives. I don't see how you can have a free market economy if people can't rely on the most vital tool that makes markets work. It's through money that we transmit market signals, and you need clarity of those signals, or supply and demand can't figure out what's the optimal solution. So I think the importance of feeling responsible in discussions at the Federal Reserve is is a responsibility to remember that the money has to work for everyone, and that, in a sense, it's a moral contract between the government and the citizens.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.